Hello and welcome to Sovereign Earth. This is the fifth episode already. Sovereign Earth, looking at the quality and the nature and the mystery of virtue. Yeah, what is virtue? So last week we were looking at gratitude, and Cicero reckoned that gratitude was not only the greatest of the virtues, but the parent of all other virtues. That could be. It's worth playing with that. Whether it is or not. What is virtue? What is virtue? It's a mysterious term in a way. We kind of know it, and yet it's quite elusive in some ways. We're going to explore it in a minute. Welcome anyway to Greenwood Grunewald, Liz Harris, Isalinda Damas, Jennifer Friedman, and anyone else who's out there. All of you are very welcome, wherever you are. Like a grove, I feel like it's a grove. We're working for the protection of the earth together, like a grove of trees, and we're humans, but and John King, and Ridgisid Druitt. I can't pronounce your name, but I know who you are. Buddhafield man. Okay, we're going to start with a song. What better way? And this has a relevance to virtue, if you think about it. Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come? To love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember. Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come? To love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember. So after singing, and I welcome your joining in. I didn't say to join in, but I'd encourage you and invite you to join me when I sing a couple of other songs later on. And I also don't, so there's the beauty of the song, and then there's this wonderful silence which follows, and it's very deeply healing. I invite us to breathe into that. Sometimes it's nice to dwell for a couple of minutes in that, but in this format, a few seconds will do. So virtue, okay. So all of us have heard of the word, I guess, and we'll have some concept or understanding or experience of it, probably all different to each other, but related. So we talk of virtue being related to moral excellence, a trait or a quality that is deemed morally good, well, inherently good. I prefer to think of the decent thing, doing the right thing, as opposed to the wrong thing. We tend to know what it is and how difficult that is. to fulfill. I like the concept of wisdom being the wisdom's knowing what it is that needs to be done for the greater good, and virtue is putting that into practice, delivering it, doing it. So virtue is what delivers and makes it manifest. Now, with this whole sovereign earth approach, the whole basis, the whole starting point of these was in this world of turmoil and difficulty and certainly challenging times. How might we make a difference in the world that might benefit the earth? And it's fascinating to me that we live in a time when that quality, I said, moral excellence, where do we see that in our leaders, in our politicians, in our businesses? I'm not saying it's absent entirely, but it's pretty rare. And yet it's, without it, we are where we are. Not for, with good reason we are where we are. Virtue's been abandoned, or so it might seem, certainly forgotten, neglected, atrophied. So here's something that relates to that from Confucius of all people. So this is hundreds, thousands of years even old, and yet perennial wisdom comes back through. If there's righteousness in the heart, I'd say that's virtue. If there's righteousness in the heart, there will be beauty in the character. And if there's beauty in the character, there'll be harmony in the home. If there's harmony in the home, there will be order in the nations. And if there's order in the nations, there will be peace in the world. I love it because it throws it back right. If there's righteousness in the heart, that's where it comes from. That's where it starts. And without that, we can't have peace in the world. So the work begins and ends here and with each of us, but the beauty of sharing. So here's another little reminder of the benefits of virtue. I sometimes sing this at naming ceremonies. It's only it's a little ditty as much as anything. It hints at a virtuous life. Listen in. When you were born, you cried, and the world rejoiced. Live your life so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. When you were born, you cried, and the world rejoiced. Live your life so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. Yea, and I suspect, or I believe that if we live a virtuous life, then we can die happy. I can die happy, and and people are more inclined to cry if somebody decent leaves the world. It's only it's a very simple tune, but like a lot of these, there's wisdom in it. So just exploring and some of the aspects of virtue. There's a poem I want to read you. It accords with my own belief and ethics. It was written by someone called Howard Campbell, who I was privileged and delighted and honoured to meet a couple of times a few years ago. He's passed on now, but he wrote this. And for those who, some of you will know Ema Burke, who's going to take on as chosen chief of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids next summer. This was her partner. This was her husband. And in reading this, I honour, celebrate Ema as much as Howard, because they were a formidable pair in their way, beautifully suited, the dynamic and the humility. So it's based as hints at Aristotle. It's Howardian. Howard was his name. Howardian Ethics of the Mean, after Nicomachus. You don't need to worry about any of that. All of this will be on the web. Will be on the Enchanting the Void blog on the website immediately after this. Listen up. Choose to do that which brings you towards the virtue of your being. I'm going to say that again. Choose to do that which brings you towards the virtue of your being. Do not seek what you cannot know. Do not dwell in what you cannot change. If your nature be as rock, move down, go deep. If your nature be as fire, move up, flame with sparks. If your nature be as water, move around, meander. If your nature be as air, expand, fill every corner unseen. Stir your cauldron full with pleasure, sorrow, pain, and joy. Learn the difficult craft of choice. Learn the difficult craft of choice. Make your way of being a work of art. Isn't that beautiful? Make your way of being a work of art. Not too much, nor too little of one tint, of any one tint. A finished work of art needs nothing taken away, nothing added. Choose when to be full of pleasure. Choose when to be sure of sorrow. Choose when to grow through pain. Choose when to wallow in joy. Search for the excellence of your being. Search for the excellence of your being. So easy to have feelings given out too much or too little. So difficult to find the center of a circle. So difficult to change a habit to virtue. So difficult to change a habit to virtue. To straighten a bent willow wand, curve it beyond the mean. Choose to do what brings you toward the virtue of your being. Do not seek what you cannot know. Do not dwell on what cannot change. Seek to be not too little, nor too much. Climb the steep path. Stoop to the wind. Navigate the mists towards the virtue of your being. Climb the steep path. Stoop to the wind. Navigate the mists towards the virtue of your being. And those last words hint at the rigor of the living a virtuous life. It takes discipline, self-discipline. It takes effort. It takes, learning. And it's easy to not be virtuous. It doesn't take a lot to wander off the path, does it? As we all know. So Aristotle talked about virtue being at the center of the extremes of vices. The vices are either extreme and virtue in the middle. And that accords nicely with my own experience in life, having come to, my name J.J. Middleway is a spiritual name, but it came to me in a dream many years ago before I'd ever come across Buddhism and references to middle way and middle path. It just came to me in a dream when I was very ill in hospital, actually. And just knowing that the middle way was the right way. But it also, this concept of virtue being at the center, held between the vices, the extremes. And it struck me that the word vice itself, the tool, the vice, it struck me there might be a relationship. And then I was down with my dear friend Adrian Rook, some of you know. We were working on some workshops we were going to deliver next week in the Netherlands. And there on the corner of his workbench was this, a vice. And I love wordplay, as many of you know. And it might be coincidence that this is called a vice, but it may not. It may have a link to vices, because these clamps come together to hold something in the middle, be it a piece of wood or iron to work on, metalwork. And so these vice, the drawers of the vice close in. And if you imagine my finger, just for the purposes of this demonstration, being virtue, and there's the two clamps, the two jaws of the vice. And to hold it takes, delicacy, because it's too much pressure and it'll squash and break it. Too little and it just falls out. So that's an interesting symbol concept. And the other one, of course, that was mentioned there was what did he say in the poem about to bend? Yes, if the willow wand, this is willow as it happens, if the willow wand is bent to one side, in order to bring it back to correct it, it has to go further than the mean. Whoops, I've broken it. It has to, in order to straighten, you have to take it. If it's bending that way, actually it has to go that way in order to find the middle point. And I love in our Wheel of the Year how there's only twice in the year where we're in balance. The spring equinox and the autumn equinox is the only point of equal day and equal night, the only point at which the sun rises in the east directly and sets in the west. And these points of balance are references, but they're not sustainable in perpetuity. They're glancing experiences. Balance is elusive. Only twice a year do we find it. Happy Lunasa, by the way. Here we are. Happy Lunasa, the time of harvest of the gratitude last week, which is appropriate for Lunasa, but also my sense in the Wheel of the Year. Here we are. Virtue is like the harvest of a good life. Virtue is an embodiment of a good life, and a good harvest is an embodiment and a reflection of a good season, a balanced season of sufficient rain, sufficient sunshine, a lovely provision of the earth, the sun, water, air, all there, and then virtuous delivery, what's the word? Lovely exposure, I was going to say, but exposition of abundance. And here we are at Lunasa harvest. Anyway, I've whittled on a bit. So I'm going to finish in a minute with a song. Oh, I know what I'm going to tell you about. There's a couple of things I could. This one of my favourite children's authors is Ursula Le Guin, and she wrote a fabulous book, The Wizard of Earthsea, well before J.K. Rowling ever came along. And I think ideas were filched by, possibly she was influenced, let's put it that way, in what kind of way, because she's very creative and inspirational in her own way. And I think Star Wars might have been influenced by this, because the hero is a 15-year-old adolescent boy called Jed, and he's training to be a magician, maybe a musician as well. They go together, and he gets sent. He's on a training to be a magician, and he ends up on this remote island where the 5 most ancient and elder seers, the magicians, live. And he goes around and he absorbs their wisdom. And he gets to the last one at the far side of the island, and he says, you thought as a boy that the whole point of becoming a magician, of becoming a mage, was so that you'd be able to do anything. Surely that's the whole point of being a magician, to be able to do anything. I thought that, you think that, we all think that. But the truth is that I mean, he says a man here, but it applies to women as well. He says, the truth is, as a man's real power grows and his knowledge widens, so ever the way he can follow grows narrower, until at last he chooses nothing, but does only and wholly that which he must do. I think that's real. It ties in with what we've explored. The path, his knowledge widens, his choice is narrow, to the point where he has no choice but to do, I would suggest, only that which is virtuous. That's the challenge for each and all of us. So I'm just going to finish with a song, which is also about balance, and join in if you care to. Tread gently on the earth, breathe gently of the air, flow gently on the water, touch gently of the fire. Tread gently on the earth, breathe gently of the air, flow gently on the water, touch gently of the fire. Join me for one last time. Tread gently on the earth, breathe gently of the air, flow gently on the water, touch gently of the fire. Just while we're in this space, I invite us to close our eyes. Just go into, imagine us in this circle, this grove, however many of us, it doesn't matter. All of us here present now, in a grove, with earth beneath our feet and the sky above, and trees around us, held, nurtured, secure. Okay, in this space, this can be our grove in this moment, our wisdom grove. I'm going to invite us just to take a few seconds. What are my 3 most precious, most valuable virtues? What do I value most? And what do I need most to honor, respect, and deliver in this life? 3 virtues. So I've come up with my own 3. I'd be interested to know what each of you come up with, if you'd care to share them. So I came up with courage, compassion, and humility. And there's many, many more I could have come up with, but I'm sure you've come up with your own. Let's offer these out now in this moment. We offer out our shared wisdom and understanding. May we live a virtuous life. May I live a virtuous life. May we each exhibit, deliver, gift, extol, celebrate these virtues, and may they be a vehicle for honoring the earth, sovereign earth, everything offered in honor of sovereign earth. Thank you so much for joining me. It helped. Yeah, I find it a fascinating journey, just reconnecting with all these things myself. And next week we'll look at service or prayer. prayer next week. Service after that. Trees to come. Compassion. Wisdom. A whole string of things. Lots of love to you all. Be blessed.